As a feeding specialist, there are 10 questions I get asked a lot, and I mean a lot. From why does my baby cry so much, to why are my nipples so sore? And come to think about it, how many times have you said, nobody told me? Why did nobody tell me? And why don't we know this stuff? In this video, I'm going to answer all of those questions and more with the help of a voice actress. Let's dive in.
I'm so sorry, but my baby has been crying and my nipples are so sore and I just don't know what to do. I don't know how long I should feed my baby before she's been feeding non-stop and I'm just so tired. I haven't slept in so long. Please help.
How many of you are sitting there listening, just nodding away thinking, oh, God, I know how she feels, that's me. I know it's difficult. I've been there too. I remember when mine was this small, and I remember the same feelings of feeling frustrated and exhausted. But you know what I did do? I went to groups because they were amazing. I met fantastic people. I got brilliant advice. But you know what really helped me? The fact that I didn't feel so alone. Oh, and by the way, you know when you have people around you that like to tell you things like, it's breastfeeding's painful. It's fine. You know what you do? You power through it and eventually it'll just go away. And sometimes, you know what? Might be even your mum that tells you that, or someone you really trust and listen to, but that's honestly what people got told back in the day, because that's how it was before there was support. Now there's support. Don't sit and suffer. Come out and get some help.
Okay, well, my nipples hurt so much. Is that normal? I use so much nipple cream.
I know it hurts, and honestly, it's not normal. They shouldn't hurt. And instead of using so much nipple cream, try squeezing a little bit of your breast milk out and rubbing that into the nipples instead. Because honestly, it's a natural antibiotic and it's really going to help. And I know at the moment you feel like, how am I going to continue to breastfeed if my nipples are so sore? But it can be fixed with a really good latch. If you get a good position, the nipple's going to go into the back of your baby's mouth where it's going to be protected and it'll have time to heal.
I was worried because I have big nipples. I got told that she wouldn't manage them because her mouth is too small. Does nipple size really make a difference?
No, it's not like your baby sits in the room with the magazine going, oh, yeah, yep, liking that one. Oh, fingers crossed for that one. That one right there, that's the one. No, they're generally going to take whatever you give them. Just try not to give her a bottle because that causes nipple confusion and that can make breastfeeding harder than it needs to be.
Why is she crying all the time? I'm not sure if I'm doing anything wrong, but she just cries and cries.
Honey, you're doing nothing wrong. But I tell you what would help her out a little bit. Try stripping her down, take everything off, leave the nappy on, whip your top off and put her in skin to skin. Because what that's going to do is that's just going to settle her down. She can hear your heartbeat and that's just going to nicely calm her and soothe her. Also, crying's not a bad thing. Sometimes all it is they're trying to communicate something to you. And it could be any number of things. It's not always hunger. I mean, it could be, but that's not always the answer. It could be that maybe I have a wet or a dirty nappy. Maybe I'm too hot or too cold. Or you know what? Maybe I just need a good cuddle. It could also be wind. And if it is wind, if you've ever had trapped wind, oh my God, you know where she's coming from. But you know what? A good winding technique can go a long way. Also, if it is wind, just watch for that little red face and she scrunches up like an angry boxer. That's how you know it is wind. And I will leave you a link in the description.
I've got another question. How come my partner can settle the baby better than I can? It feels like the baby doesn't really like me.
Oh, honey, I know this can feel really personal to you, but I promise you it really isn't. So when your baby's on your chest and they're in the middle of an all-you-can-eat buffet, because that's what this is essentially here, they're constantly thinking about, do I fancy dessert? Could I squeeze a little bit more in rather than settling? But then when they're on your partner's chest, your partner just doesn't smell of breast milk, and therefore your baby tends to just settle down. Instead of being distracted by food, they tend to settle and go to sleep. It's honestly just that simple.
But do I still need to wind her though? I keep getting different advice. Everyone is chiming in, and as much as they think they're being helpful, it's really confusing me. Um, could you help me with that, please?
Honestly, every baby's an individual. Some are just simply windier than others. Mine certainly was. She could have powered her own gas station, she was so windy. So there's a rumour that says breastfed babies shouldn't be windy, but I don't think they've all got that memo, to be honest. So here's what I'm going to say, play it by ear. If she looks very upset and she's tense and she's red in the face and she looks like a really angry, upset boxer, then she is probably windy. But if she's relaxed, then she has no wind. Oh, and by the way, if she farts, that is still wind. It just doesn't matter which door we use, okay? Let's do the floppy arm test just to be sure. So if you pick up her little arm and you just let it go, and if she flops to the side, then she's probably not windy and she's okay.
At night, she wakes up literally the minute I put her down. I mean, she's really happy on my chest, but I just can't put her down without waking her up. I'm not really sure if that's normal.
Yep, to be honest, that is very normal. If you think about it, your baby's just getting their head around being kicked out of the bed set. It's the only place they've ever known their whole life, so it's a huge adjustment. And actually, how many times have you put this baby down in pregnancy? Most babies, they're not going to want to sleep in a cot. Let's face it. They're cold and they're too big and they feel really lost. It's really normal, to be fair. And anyway, they're going to want to be as close as possible to you. And let's face it, they're inside of you 5 minutes ago. So it's a big change for them. You just need to be patient. And also, being here on your chest, it's warm and it's safe, and they can hear that lovely soothing heartbeat. So actually, it's the next best thing for your baby. And honestly, I don't blame them. And also, if I put it this way, if I was to change everything you knew and I took you from your nice, safe, warm flat or wherever, and I parked you in a field at night and it's cold and it's dark. Oh, and by the way, you don't speak the language. You also don't have your phone or any money, and you have no idea what the hell's going on. How do you feel? What's your anxiety levels at right now? You get where I'm going with this, right? It's just something to think about.
Another thing is, my mom says I'm spoiling her and I'm making a rod on my back if I don't put her down. Is that true? Am I really spoiling her?
Listen, I'm not trying to call your mother old or anything, but that is actually really old advice. And to be fair to your mum, probably what she was told back then, just like I was. My midwife was forever saying to me, sure, Martina, make sure after you fed the baby to put them down, because if you don't, you'll be ruining them. And you don't want them to get used to being in your arms the whole time. They'll never sleep by themselves. And actually, however, there's new research that's out, and it says that it's good for your brain development. And actually, it's not even that new. So, the more you interact with your baby and cuddle them, and you can hold them as much as you want, and in fact, it's going to make them smarter. I'm going to leave a link to the UNICEF Building Happy Baby Guide, and you can show that to whoever you feel needs to see it.
My partner wants to give her formula so they can bond. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I understand that your partner would like to bond, but if I'm honest, there are so many other ways of bonding with your baby. And honestly, I would try not to give a bottle for the first 4 to 6 weeks because we don't want to confuse your baby between the breast and the bottle at this point. And honestly, I think they could try things like skin to skin. That's a really nice way of bonding and getting to know the baby. Could try pushing the pram, wearing her in a sling. That'd be really nice. And also, don't forget about nappies. There's going to be plenty of bonding opportunities right there.
I've been told my baby is so small and she will need to be topped up with formula, but I'm not sure how true that is. Um, because obviously I've been breastfeeding her so far.
Okay, so, right. Honestly, I think if you had a big baby, you'd have probably been told that big baby still needed formula because, being a big baby, you couldn't possibly have enough milk. And with the small ones, you get told, oh, well, they're too small to breastfeed. So sometimes I feel like we just can't win. But honestly, if you keep an eye on her nappies and you can see that she's feeding and you're getting plenty of wet and dirty nappies, and of course you wash the colour of poo, as long as that is changing, then that proves that there's food going in. So here's a golden rule that I like to tell people. If it doesn't go in this end, it does not come out this end. So if you're getting nice clear wee and you are getting poo the size of a £2 coin, your baby is feeding. But if you're still not reassured by that and they're very, very small, then what I would say is check in with the feeding specialist just to make sure, just for your peace of mind. And if by any chance you do need to actually do a top up, it doesn't have to be formula. I don't know why everything has to be formula. It can be if that's what you want to give, if that is what you choose to give, please by all means do. But maybe think about expressing.
For how long should she feed for? She just feeds non-stop.
Honestly, every baby is an individual and it's going to be different for all of them. Just try not to compare your baby to anybody else's because yours is unique, okay? So for the first 3 days, you're going to be usually packing colostrum. That's the first milk that your baby's going to get. And that can be very thick and it takes them a long time to suck and get it. So they can feed for a lot because they're going to have lots of breaks. So it kind of feels like they're feeding forever. They're not. They just like to eat slowly and think about it. Some babies will have a feed for anywhere up to 45 minutes and then go to sleep and come back every 2 to 3 hours. And some will feed like they've just never had food before. But once your milk changes and it becomes more watery stuff, then hopefully your baby moves into feeding every sort of 2 to 3 hours, give or take. Now, when that happens, they could feed for anything up to 5 minutes to 45 minutes. It depends on how fast or slow your letdown is, how greedy your baby is, and how quickly they choose to feed. So it's a case of patience, but it does get easier. And it's going to go up and down depending on growth spurts as they grow as well, just so you know that. So they might convince you don't have enough milk, but you do. Just let them do their thing. It's a little bit like this, but if you was out to dinner with your friends, you'd find some of your friends would eat dinner really quick, some would be really slow, and others would be somewhere in the middle. Well, it's very much like that for babies as well. Well, we've come to the end of my role play of the 10 common questions that I get asked, and thanks to my voice actress for all her help. I hope I got your question, but if not, what question should have been on the list? Leave it in the comments below. Please, if you liked this video, then give it a thumbs up because actually it really does help. And feel free to share, subscribe, and now try and get some sleep. Good night.